Nerd Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined by Johnny Maloney and Austin Yorsky.
Hey, fellas,
Hey,
what's the good word?
Jesus?
I suppose that would depend.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad word.
I mean, if you were a Satanist, it probably would be.
Well, okay.
What kind of Satanist?
Yeah, aren't there like different kinds?
LaVeyan.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
that's the classic Satanist. Have you guys ever actually read the LaVeyan Satanic
like
Bible?
Is there like a neoclassicist Satanist?
I
mean-
believe modern Satanists are not what you think.
Yeah, there's a couple different. There's like the neo-pagan Satanism. There's LaVeyan Satanism, which is philosophical. There's like Crowley's kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
but Crowley wasn't really a Satanist. He was
A magic man.
No, wouldn't he call it thelemic magic or something?
Yeah, he had his
It was
own
like
thing.
it was like sex magic.
it was an occult of having sex with him.
Okay, guys, I've just the boy band that we're gonna form now. Seeing as how we went from being called Heat Factory to now being called the Gospel of Luke, I think we should be Sex Magic now.
We've had a lot of names.
I think it was the Gospel of Mark, but I guess we shouldn't split hairs.
Okay, the Gospel of Mark then. Apologies.
No, that's fine.
I wasn't,
How are people not more suspicious of cults? Which the main feature is you get to have sex with the guy who started the cult. I feel like that's a red flag.
Well, Austin, cults are like what's the word I'm looking for here? Because it's not. It's like It's not polygamy because I know that that's mashing. It's polyamorous. They're like polyamorous relationships.
Careful, Johnny.
No, well, just in the sense that sometimes you don't know that you're in one.
None of
I was really worried that you were going to equate being in a polyamorous relationship with being in a cult, and then you went in a completely different and much funnier direction.
No. I mean, I have my own personal thoughts and feelings about the scene, the polyamory scene.
the underground Seattle polyamory scene.
No. I mean, I know people who've dabbled around in partner sharing and swapping and it works. It works for some people.
Yeah.
And collecting. It's like Pokemon cards.
No, I ditto for me. Not for me personally, but for me, I know people who are perfectly happy in polyamorous relationships.
I also know people who have been extremely hurt by it because they went in thinking that they were ready, they were not ready, and then those human emotions rear their ugly head, and then suddenly, you've got trouble on your hands. So, no, I'm not speaking down to anybody who's interested in polyamory or shares friends or anything like that. I'm just saying is that it can be a tricky situation sometimes.
Polyamory is one of those things where it makes total sense on paper, right? Like if we're all consenting adults, there's no reason for us not to just do what makes us all happy and not. But then it's like there's this weird social programming, like you've grown up in a culture that idolizes monogamy, and it's hard to undo. There's a lot of that. It's
also, I mean, let's be honest here, matters of the heart and matters of the sex are not
matters
always,
of the sex.
Matters of the sex. They're not always. I mean, we put them together again, like you say, because of classical social conditioning. They're not necessarily the same thing, but
yeah, you could hate fuck the shit out of someone.
yeah, you totally can. On the other hand, sex can lead to intimacy, and intimacy can lead to real emotions. And I know people are like, wait a minute, sex isn't intimate? And it's like, no, it can be distinctly not intimate.
And it can go the other way around. You can really like someone a lot and just not particularly be interested in banging them.
Yeah.
So that's weird. When you can sit down and you can chart all this shit and you're like, I should feel this way, but I totally don't. Why don't I feel this way? It doesn't make any sense.
Johnny, when you were saying matters of the heart aren't so the sex, and intimacy can lead to sex, but sex might not lead to intimacy, it sounded very much like the lyrics to a Genesis song.
Like a specific Genesis song?
No, it just sounds
a great unwritten Genesis song?
It sounds like a very generic Genesis song.
I'm just saying is that that they can be closely tied together, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they like string in the same direction. But you can go into a situation and just be like, I'm just gonna access this part of me, and then discover that you're poking the wrong straw.
Poking the wrong straw. Is that what we're calling it now?
We're calling the episode that.
Record time.
By the way,
under 7 minutes.
This is the 99th episode, by the way, and I feel like
someone should have stopped us by now. Yeah, me too.
No, I feel like we should have talked about this by now, but we haven't. So I want to talk about this. I'm surprised that Ray getting sucked off by a ghost never got brought up during the real Ghostbusters cartoon. That's just.
I think they were for different demographics.
I just feel like that's a huge missed opportunity. I mean, it didn't even need to be like outright said. Just like a few knowing winks between Ray and Slimer, or.
I mean, Ghostbusters has a weird arc, right? Because it's kind of the original movie's kind of like a bro comedy, right? Like it's for adults, and then all the spin-offs and shows and stuff on how they made Slimer into like a kid's icon and started selling like Capri Sun. Like it's weird how that show like dropped significantly in intended demographic.
I'm just saying, I really would have liked if Egon and Ray just went downstairs and then like Ray started fucking the hole in the containment unit, and that would be great to me. But that's
You have to remember the kind of movies that Bill Murray and like Harold Ramis were making during that time. Do you guys remember Stripes?
Oh yeah,
I never saw Stripes, but I know of Stripes.
It's pretty good. There's also like an extended scene in a strip club with like just nudity and stuff. Like they were making some raunchy stuff.
Austin, you missed a very important cultural part of history by not, and this is what I'm going to call it, by not growing up in the 80s. Because tits were everywhere.
It's my understanding that they have been everywhere since we started making this thing called art, but go on.
And I just mean everybody was just kind of like, hey, tits. And like nobody seemed to give a damn.
Well, it was a selling point back then, because you could say, oh, maybe this movie has some tits in it, and then you go and then you pay money for it. Now that is not a thing because boobs are like everywhere. Due to the internet, no producer is saying, we got to put in some nudity on this, and there's no like argument between the producer and the director about art, about gratuitous nudity, because executive producers aren't saying that as much because they don't need it.
Oh, you're saying like pre-internet, like just having boobs like in your thing was enough to get people to be like, yeah, I kind of want to see a boob today. Like, might as well.
Austin, people did kind of want to see a boob that day.
I know.
Every day. It's weird, but I mean, we're desensitized to it now. That actually leads into something I wanted to talk about also. Sorry, I hope I'm not dominating the conversation too much, but I did have a couple.
The conversation about tits?
No.
You dominate those tits, Leon.
No, it's related to growing up in the 80s and 90s. I was actually thinking about this today. People roughly in our age group, from Austin's like mid-20s to Johnny's mid-30s, I'm like slightly between, but far closer to Johnny, are living in an era in which the like 18 to 39-year-old male demographic is even more catered to than ever before. I mean, it always was, but now we're getting all these revivals of 80s and 90s properties because that's what our age group grew up on. You know, we're Fuller House and X-Files, Inspector Gadget, Twin Peaks, Muppets, Ninja Turtles. I know a couple are coming back but just haven't yet, like Xena and Fresh Prince. But it won't be long before we, and I mean we like the three of us and people around our age group, are not the target demographic because just the arrow of time. Like Johnny and I will be 40 in a matter of years, and one day Austin will turn into a real boy. And when that happens, things will just kind of like, there'll be like a tectonic shift. I mean, it's already sort of starting. Like,
I'm already seeing it myself, Leon. I mean, like I creep ever closer to 40.
Yeah, we're all getting there. I mean, but like late 90s and early 2000s shows like Gilmore Girls and Powerpuff Girls are coming. Just not tomorrow, but soonish. So the entertainment industry knows you care most about the stuff that left an impression on you as a child. So, all right, so like two things about that. First, if you're whining about your new Ghostbusters movie that you've been waiting for like 30 years, enjoy it while you can. Because if it's profitable, there's like probably a sequel coming, sure. But we like the entertainment industry is slowly going to shift its attention towards those who are about to become part of the 18 to 39-year-old demographic, and less on those leaving that demographic, like myself and Johnny in a few years. Second thing, get ready for the inevitable reboot of Lost, okay, and other like
Prison Break.
Yeah, popular like mid-2000 franchises.
24. 24's coming back already, isn't it?
Yeah. 24. I think 24 actually did come back.
No, it did, but I think they're rebooting it again, and they're replacing Kiefer Sutherland too.
Oh, okay.
With David Hayter. The shocking twist.
But all this is going to happen. We're not going to stay stuck in the 80s and 90s nostalgia on TV and movies forever, because the market will change simply due to the passage of time. So, I'm just saying, like, for people around our age, get it while it's hot, because the Entourage reboot is the future, and we are probably not going to give 2/3 of a shit about it.
But it's cyclical, right? Because then people who grew up on the rebooted shit will reach 18 or so, and then they'll reboot the reboots.
You know what? If it's the reboot, then maybe. But if it's like a sequel thing, it might not be. Like if it's just
aren't they rebooting Reboot?
They are rebooting Reboot. One more thing. People keep wondering when we're gonna get Firefly back on the air. If the revival trend persists, probably within 5 to 10 years, either as a new season like X-Files or a reboot like Ninja Turtles and Reboot. So you just have to wait until the people who grew up watching that, instead of people who were adults watching that, become adults or more, older.
Well, I mean, it's easier to mine this data than ever before now, right?
Well, sure. I mean, everything's like. Anyway, I guess that's all.
It's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud. This is our 99th episode, so hang in there. More to come. Austin, before the show, you said you wanted to talk about House of Cards. I have seen half an episode. But if you would like to talk about House of Cards, I will listen to you talk about it.
I once built a House of Cards.
Nice.
I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, what can I say? That's not spoilers, right?
I don't care. I'm never gonna watch it, because I watched half an episode and it was gross. And to understand what kind of show I like right now, it's Fuller House. So like me watching House of Cards, where I'm not going to explain the scene again.
Leon, you're like some kind of cultural Benjamin Button boy.
Thank
How
you.
many more episodes is it going to be before you come to the show and be like, I watched Dora the Explorer this week. I learned about maps.
Dora the Explorer is very important because it taught a new generation to be bilingual. So fuck you.
Did it though? I don't remember there actually being that much Spanish in it. I've never actually sat down and watched it. It's like background noise. But
I'm under the impression that it is. In fact, once when I was a substitute teacher at a school, a angry person who is probably now a Trump supporter was going on a rant about the fact that they are learning Spanish through Dora the Explorer and other things, and say, why can't they learn English words on that show? And I almost threw a fit, but decided not to, because that's usually not like me. I just never went back to that school.
I mean, there's tons. Dora is mostly in English, I'm pretty sure.
I understand. I'm not saying it's a language course. I'm saying that
Dora the Explorer, Rosetta Stone edition.
Right. No, I'm just saying that it is educational, and I believe that there are references to Spanish words.
Can you imagine going through life and being genuinely upset that people are learning other languages? Like, what does that even look like? What is that worldview like?
I would hate myself every day if that was me.
I mean, I'm sure they do. I just don't know if they see the connection.
Oh, my.
I feel like in their mind, those are two separate and unrelated things, the self-loathing and the racism.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk politics again? We jam-packed last week with politics.
We don't have any topics this week, as is common. So I mean, we can talk about whatever we want. No one can stop us.
No three men should have all this power. I mean, I played games. I watched stuff. I mean, do you guys have anything like in that realm to bring to the table before we go to questions, or? It's my favorite part of the show. I like answering questions.
Well,
Maybe I'm just a
well,
weirdo.
but you can absolutely do it. But we don't have to do it now. We're 18 minutes in. There must be some.
I mean, okay, so I watched the new season of House of Cards that came up on Netflix. It's real good. Some people thought the last season was kind of weak. This one, it's weird. I feel like it would be a lot more powerful if we didn't have an election going on that is crazier than the one in the show. It's weird because like other ones, you're like, oh, there's no way that this would happen. Like this is outlandish, this is unbelievable. But now all the stuff that would be that is like tame. Like this happens like episode 2, so it's not really a spoiler. But like turns out that Frank's father has connections with the KKK, and it's like a scandal. In real life, Donald Trump's dad was in the KKK, and no one cares.
He's
Like,
also
it's not-
he's also like frequently endorsed by the KKK, and he only seems to kind of mind it.
It's politically useful for him to not disavow it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's one of those things where he's like, I can't control them. If they like me and going to vote for me, it's fine. But I'm saying if this show came out and Trump wasn't running, like that would seem like a perfectly reasonable thing for there to be a scandal over. But watching it now, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like America's kind of ready for a president with ties to the KKK. Like we seem pretty jazzed about it. There's a bunch of stuff like that. I'm trying to think. There was like some other thing where it was like there was like a scandal about some shit he said, and I was like, Trump says worse than that every day, and his poll numbers only go higher.
What was the shit that Frank Underwood said?
Was he like, don't look at my baby hands, I got a huge dick?
I don't remember. He says a lot of shit. Like the show is crazy, but normally it's like a level of outlandishness that's like sets it apart from like The West Wing or something else, right? Like the show goes a step further. But now it doesn't seem that like outlandish because real life is outlandish right now.
Weird.
Stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to hit a point where shit can't get any crazier, right? Like every like successive election for the rest of our lives is going to become more of a circus, is it?
It's where we discover that Trump has really been a Democrat all along in disguise.
Maybe like there is a tipping point, and it's just gonna be like we get there and like, oh, this is boring now. Can someone just say something rational? And then we're gonna find that amazing. Like what we have now will become the new normal. And then when people start saying like what we call normal shit, we will find that fascinating, and that will be we'll have all the media attention.
I think Jon Stewart did like a whole bit on that before he left the Daily Show about how like people think Sanders is like a cuckoo bird crazy pants because he just like says what he believes and doesn't try to sell steaks during his press conferences or whatever. Like he's like, I believe in equal rights for people and I think everyone should have the chance to go to college. And then pundits are like, whoa, wacky. But he's just like a dude saying what people say. So I think we might already have that to a certain extent, the idea that not being part of the circus makes you unique. I just wonder how far we can push that, I guess.
Well, we'll either get over this shit in a few months or 4 to 8 years. So that's what we're dealing with in our country.
Good luck with that, guys.
Yeah.
That's not fair. You elected that, like...
God, he's sexy.
That hot, young, sensitive prime minister who was all like, Happy International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Women are important.
I think I saw a picture of him, and I think it was pandas?
Yes, my friend sent me a picture of him with pandas, and I'm like, oh my god!
Yeah. That's bullshit. Send us one of those dudes. I want Panda president.
No, you get Justin Bieber.
I feel like he's kind of a rash. Like we got him by accident, and now we can't get rid of him. That wasn't a present. Although apparently his new album's pretty good. I haven't listened to it. Have you guys heard about this? I guess this is the road I'm going down now.
No, it's fine.
So with Justin Bieber, like he was on YouTube, right? And then he blew up big with like teenage girls, and everyone like ragged on him for like 5 years. And then he came back, and apparently he released like an album of genuinely good music. Like it reviewed really well, and like people are like actually into him as an artist now.
Is it being reviewed very well, like as a piece of art, or is it being reviewed very well, like when
as a Justin Bieber album.
No,
you
no.
must say Justin Trudeau album.
I almost said Justin Trudeau album.
like when a dog kind of stands up on two legs, and it's like it's amazing that he can do it at all.
That's what I thought at first, but from what I understand, people actually think it's good.
All right,
all right. Ironically,
okay. Of the three of us, has any of us like listened to the album?
Oh God, no.
Well,
No.
then what are we even talking about?
my question was, have you guys heard about this?
I've heard that it's not shit, but I don't listen to popular music very much, and I don't mean that in a hipster way. I mean I only have so much time for so many interests, and I don't follow music at all anymore. So I can't speak to it. I follow music in the sense that I watch Todd's show about music sometimes, and that's about it.
We have to get Leon back into music somehow.
Johnny sent me a link to an album, and I liked the album. But so thank you. But again, it's like I got, oh my God, I have so much like stuff to do. I'm
pretty good for the musics.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. We're all super busy. Do you guys have any topics you want to throw out here? I can keep going with just garbage, but
I don't know. My week has been sort of weird. Without getting like too heavy, I had complications from surgery. I had a couple weeks ago, and then I had the surgery a couple weeks ago, and then recently something went wrong, and not in the sense that it was dangerous, but in the sense that it really hurt, and I had to not go to work for a couple days. So I was just down, looking at the ceiling for 2 days. I got up a little to like type, but yeah, I did not do anything for a while. So my week has been like a half week. So I don't have like as much stuff going on to talk about. I sure do like Fuller House, but we've gone over that. No. Oh, I will say this. The people
say it.
the People versus O.J. Simpson, the miniseries American Crime Story. For a miniseries about the O.J. Simpson trial as a spin-off of American Horror Story and by the same producers, it is shockingly good. And I'm not saying it's like a great, like amazing show and that you would be a fool to miss it, but I am saying that it is way better than one would expect from that description.
Yeah, I heard it's really good too, but it's on TV, right?
Yes, it is on television.
Yeah, I don't fuck with that. Get it up on Hulu or some shit.
Okay. Yeah, but no, it's solidly good. There are like strong moments in it where it discusses race and how that is connected to how we viewed that trial, and also some sexism stuff related to Marcia Clark. Like I grew up, knowing of the trial because that's just my age, but I didn't know like that there were tabloids talking about her hair all the time and giving her shit about her outfits. Certainly not the men, just her. And I didn't know that was a thing. I know that people do that shit to women, but I didn't know that was a thing for Marcia Clark during that time.
Yeah, I was a little too young. Like I vaguely remember it being a thing, but like I didn't understand. So I don't have a great framework. I'll watch it if it becomes available on something from this century. Jesus.
It'll come to something. It's pretty darn popular. I know American Horror Story is streaming on something or other, so I imagine that the spin-off will. We call it a spin-off in the sense that it has the name and one of the producers, I think.
It's a sister series.
Yeah, it's in no way related. It's not like at the last episode it's going to turn out that O.J. Simpson was a demon the whole time. But it's just, Anyway, but yeah.
I'd respect them if they went that route.
I'd be cool with that. It would be a great twist if, like, at the very end, OJ rips his face off. And it's just like the Satan under there. It's like, it was me. It was me the whole time.
We didn't actually talk that much about Satanism. I think Satanism is really interesting. How much do you...
We can circle back.
How much do you guys know about Satanism?
A little. Every once in a while, someone will mention something about Satanism, and I will find it fascinating. For example, someone recently mentioned that God, what is it? In the Satanic Bible, it is very explicit about not messing with women. Like, do not be sexually aggressive towards women. And when someone was mentioning this, in this quote from the Satanic Bible, it was showing comparative texts from other religions that say nastier things, let's just say.
Like where the Bible says, if you rape someone, you have to marry them. That's a real thing. That's in the Bible.
I don't even know how that the logic that follows that, but okay.
But yeah, because you've just soiled someone's property.
Oh shit!
It's literally her father's property. You just
you damaged the merchandise. You gotta buy it now.
Oh, yeah, you broke or you bought it. That is terrible in all kinds of ways.
Yeah, so like the kind of Satanism you're talking about is kind of like this hippie offshoot of kind of rejecting a lot of Christianity, and it's not like it has this weird guise of religiousness, but it's really more about philosophy. It's like if God represents rules, like Satan represents freedom, like he rebelled, and like all of these rules that you're bound to as a person in society are no longer fettering you. So yeah, like
LaVeyan Satanism is very much like a 4-year-old trying to get a 4-year-old to eat its vegetables. Where it's like religion would be like, well, you gotta wear tons of clothes, and the 4-year-old's like, oh yeah, watch this.
It is kind of like hippie free love.
Okay, if we want to give it a little more respectability, could we say that Satan in the Satanism you're talking about is more like Milton's Satan?
Oh man, we haven't talked about Milton or Dante on this show. I love those are really great topics too, because a lot of modern Christians think those are canon for some reason.
I actually had to read bits and pieces of Paradise Lost for my new episode. It's kind of neat that
it's amazing. I'm sorry, I'm just going to interject here. It's amazing they think that Paradise Lost is canon, and yet the rest of the trilogy is sort of like, well.
Yeah, there's also more to both of those than Paradise Lost and the Inferno. Mm-hmm. But those are just the popular ones. But yeah, like the whole idea of like Satan's rebellion and stuff, like that's not really in the Bible. There's like if you really look between the lines and squint, you can find some of it, but like that's all down to like your translation of like certain words from like the Book of Daniel and stuff. It's a whole clusterfuck. Like the whole idea of hell that we have in popular culture isn't canon. Like none of that.
Frozen Lake.
None of that.
Sorry. In any case, Leon, you were.
Oh, I've completely lost my train of thought. You're fine.
You said you had to reread parts of Paradise Lost.
Did I? Hold on. Let me check my notes.
I hope those are his Paradise Lost notes. It's not his word funk notes.
No. My Paradise.
That's just a blank page.
No. I in the upcoming episode about Blade Runner, I briefly compare Roy Batty to a fallen angel who is rejecting his god and believes himself in the right and is leading an army to basically stop himself from being a slave.
Sneak peek.
Yeah, that is a like. And when I say I mentioned that, I mean that's it. There's 10 seconds of that, and the rest is a lot of other shit.
So, like, I could actually talk about this for a lot longer, but I think, like, fun fact.
Why isn't there a frozen lake in most popular representations of hell then, though, Austin?
Why would there be?
The ninth circle of hell is frozen. It's frozen over.
Circles. Okay, Johnny, point to me in the Bible where it talks about the circles of hell.
No. I mean, you suggested the concept that most of contemporary understanding of hell is derived from
Dante being super petty about his political enemies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dante's Inferno is one giant subtweet. Like he's like, you know Jeff who kicked me out of the city? Fuck that guy. I bet the devil pisses in his ears every night. Like it's none of it has anything to do with actual religion, barely. Yeah. And same thing with Paradise Lost to an extent. Like there's some scriptural basis for some of the ideas in there, like the Book of Enoch kind of synergized as well with the angel rebellion thing.
And who hasn't read the Book of Enoch? Am I right, ladies and gentlemen?
I actually
give it up.
They made a game out of it. It's called El Shaddai: Ascension of the Metatron. That's a really good game. Not the gameplay, the art style mostly. I recommend it. It's for 360 and PS3.
Is it better or worse than the Jesus wrestling game?
What's the Jesus wrestling game?
Oh God, the U Testament. That's what it's called.
That's not a wrestling game.
No, I call it the Jesus wrestling game because the engine that it was built on, the guy who made it, M. Dickey, I think his name was, the guy who made it, the game it was based on, or the engine it was based on, was originally made for a wrestling game. And he didn't take any of the functionality out of the wrestling game. So you can just, straight up walk up to Jesus and kick him in the nuts.
Yeah, I played the New Testament and the Muhammad sequel to that many years ago for jokes.
For jokes. I actually did a video of the New Testament for Blistered Thumbs. That was a really fun video to make. That game is preposterous.
Did you kick Jesus in the nards?
No, I made my character so big that he couldn't fit through doors.
Oh, is he one of those biblical characters? Oh, what were the ones? They were like literal giants who had sex with humans. What are they called?
The Nephilim.
Yeah, okay.
Which the Nephilim are the subject of the Book of Enoch.
No. You guys misunderstand. The Nephilim are actually aliens that live on planet Nibiru, also known as Planet X, which has a super parabolic orbit around the sun. And then once the CERN Large Hadron Collider blows a hole in God's protective shielding above the Earth, then the Nephilim will return from the hidden Nibiru that's now in synchronous orbit above Earth, and they will disguise themselves as lizard people and take over all the governments.
Is this Evangelion?
Oh my god! That's gonna be my response to every gibberish garbage thing Leon or Johnny says from now on. Is that the plot of Eva?
Okay.
No, it sounds like your mail's been getting rerouted to Johnny, Leon. All your Scientology pamphlets.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, we can move on. I guess I just wanted to just talk about Satanism some because it's fun. It's a fun subject. Did you guys know that the upside down cross that is often associated with Satanism is actually called the Petrine cross, and it's a symbol of Saint Peter and the Vatican.
Yeah, he was I believe crucified that way. So like in upside down, and so when they made Omen 4, and they had a bunch of upside down crosses as that was the thing that the constant motif in that movie. I'm like, wait, isn't that just the guy that was crucified upside down? Isn't that not bad?
Yeah, it represents Saint Peter, and the Vatican took it as a symbol because you're not quite. If they use the regular cross, it's like trying to be on Jesus's level. So it's kind of like a humility thing.
Okay,
it's like taking a big golden M.
Yeah,
and then being like, "We home cook all our food."
Is this the plot of Evangelion?
It's branding, son.
Should I read questions now?
I guess. All right. If it's important to you, Austin, we'll keep doing questions.
We don't have to. If you guys have other topics, we can do them. I'm just.
No, I mean, we can
try to keep the energy up.
Let's do a question, and we'll see what happens.
We're gonna answer.
We'll see what we see.
All right. Alexis David asks, has there been a song or artist you found unbearable at first, but when you went back to it, you found it greater than you thought? So you had a total 180 on something.
Yeah, Fiona Apple.
Okay.
When Fiona Apple released her debut album back in 1990, one of the first singles that she released off that album was called Criminal, I think.
Yeah.
And it shot to the top of the charts. And at the time it came out, I was in this like really bratty sort of subculture, industrial music sort of phase where anything that made its way to TV was like shit. It was just shit. Like turn it off. I don't want to see it. Ugh.
So a hipster. You were a hipster.
I was an industrial goth hipster.
God, Johnny, you were probably intolerable back then. I mean, can I just say that without it being me being a jerk?
Actually, I think I was more likable then than I was now, to tell you the truth.
That's, you know what? I'm not going down this road. Tell me more about Fiona Apple.
So I dismissed it, just like offhand dismissed it. And it took me a few years to realize that by subscribing to subcultures and cliques and things like that I was robbing myself of a lot of experience and intellectual exposure and artistic ideas and other voices and things like that would enrich me as a person. So when I was like 19, I think it was, or something like that, I gave it up. I stopped wearing my huge fucking knee-high boots, and I held on to the leather trench coat because I was tall and thin, and I think it suited me. And I cut my hair short and stopped dyeing it, and I was just like, nah, you know what? I think I'm ready to just be my own man, to be myself and do what I want. And then many years later, I listened to her second album called Extraordinary Machine, and I could scarcely believe that it was the same person, because I was like, Fiona Apple? Don't I hate her? Isn't she awful? This is really good. And yeah, so but that's the funny thing about it is that like I'm sure if I had been open to her beforehand, like if I had been a more open person, more accepting, more like willing to consider new ideas, I wouldn't have had that reaction. So that whole like disliking at first and then learning to love later, because her last album, which I'm not even going to read out loud right now because it's a long.
It's the one that's like a paragraph, right?
Excuse me. Yeah, it's called the full.
God.
It's called The Idler Wheel is Wiser Than the Driver of the Screw, and Whipping Cords Will Serve You More Than Ropes Will Ever Do.
That's a Johnny-ass album title, too. That's something you would be all about.
It's fantastic. Like it's an amazing album. It's a really good album. And I know that if I had been, like I said, a little bit more open to new experiences when I was younger, I wouldn't have had that reaction. So my lesson here is not like, ooh, keep listening to things, but more, be a little bit more adventurous with yourself.
Okay. I feel that way about Independence Day.
Yeah, it goes well with his hipster story.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I'm sorry. No. In all seriousness, when I was young, and Independence Day came out in theaters, and I was like, a child. I was like, that was cool. And then later on, I'm like, wait a minute, none of this makes sense. This is stupid schlock. And then I got a little older, and I'm like, this is fun. And then I got even older, and I became a bit snobby frankly, in my film taste. And I said, no, this is trash. This is just trash. I can't believe I ever even thought it could be good. And now I feel like I've reached a better version of myself.
You're like a goddamn quadruple Benjamin Button boy. What are you doing?
Next week on Days of Our Lives, no Independence Day. I know we've been together for the past year. I just can't take it anymore.
No, but now, how I feel now is I can watch the Independence Day 2 trailer in the theater and almost cry. So that's how I feel about Independence Day now. I feel like liking movies that are substantial and liking movies that are schlock. These things shouldn't be mutually exclusive in one's mind. And I think that's important, and it's become important to me. So, my most recent episode is a French film that's kind of about Jesus and kind of about other things, and I really love that movie. But man, am I looking forward to Independence Day 2. Oh my God. So hard. So that's how I feel about Independence Day 2 and the first one and movies in general.
I mean, I don't rewatch stuff, so I don't know how many like chances I get to have like second opinions and changes of hearts on stuff. But like, I'm sure that's happened to me. When I read this question, the first thing I thought of was Arcade Fire. I remember when Neon Bible came out and everyone was like, "Oh, Arcade Fire is so good," and it was really like popping off in the indie scene. I listened to it and I didn't really get it. I went back and like tried to listen to Funeral and it didn't really click with me either. So I was like, whatever, this is just hipster garbage. And then The Suburbs came out. And I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, hold on!" And then I went back and listened to the other two, and I was like, "Oh, they're actually really good. I'm an idiot. Hold on." And now they're like, yeah, like every single one of their albums is like a masterpiece. But at first, I just didn't. I don't know why. I just didn't get it.
You just like throwing that H word around, don't you?
Which one is that? Hipster?
Hipster.
Like Johnny, it describes us. We're all like professional media consumers to an extent. We have no connection with the common American.
I'm a snob, sir. I am a snob.
Okay.
There's a difference.
What's the difference? Unpack that for me.
The difference is that I don't come down on other people for having likes that are dissimilar to mine. Yes,
okay.
hipsters are judgy fucks.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't realize there was such a clear delineation there. I thought it was just a preference thing, like geek and nerd, you know?
No. I very distinctly try and distance myself from hipster because I'm like, hey, you like what you like, and I'm not going to look down on you for it, but I don't see it.
Okay. There is a big difference between geek and nerd, but that's a whole topic itself.
I mean, all of these words mean what they mean to you personally. I don't know that there's like a clinical definition.
Culturally, I think we have decided that nerd is more related to academics, whereas geek is more related to culture.
Okay. I mean, I trust you. I believe you.
Good.
I use these all interchangeably.
That's fine. I mean, I understand why, but we're sort of never mind. You know what? Not a great topic. This topic will not be helpful, and it will just lead to angry comments. Next question.
Oh, okay.
We'll do it. We'll keep doing questions.
Okay. This question, I think we can expand it out a little beyond the scope. Robert Paulson asks, do you guys find the retconning in season 5 of X-Files annoying? I think we can just blow that up to, do you guys find retconning in media annoying? Right? Is there any time? Because I know you did an episode on plot holes, Leon, and you were basically like, a thing can have a plot hole and still be good.
Yeah.
So, can something be retconned and still be enjoyable?
I think, there's a difference between a plot hole and a retcon. A retcon, to me, means you've explicitly changed it and explained how. Like Crisis on Infinite Earths retconned things, and they did it by saying the universe fucking changed, and watch it happen with red skies. Whereas, if you've just changed something and have not explained why, and there's just these
if a bad guy suddenly becomes a good guy, but then it's sort of like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff that you didn't see that explains why you thought he was a bad guy, but really he's a good guy.
Yeah, an explanation is a retcon. A plot hole is a contradiction. But
I think that's the difference between a good retcon and a bad retcon, because the one you're talking about is where it's explained in story. I'm talking about something like, like Happy Days, where that one character just disappears and they never reference him again, and it's like retcon that he didn't exist. Where you're saying like, oh, the fabric of the universe was bent in such a way as to make certain things exist or not exist. I think that's the difference between a good retcon and a bad retcon is the effort you put into it.
I think that character in Happy Days stopped existing because Superboy Prime punched the universe. I'm almost positive. By the way, I don't know what character you're talking about or anything about Happy Days. I just wanted to make that dumb joke.
I mean, I've seen like 2 episodes. I just thought it was kind of like a cultural thing we were all aware of.
Was it Potsy?
I don't remember. It's like Jumping the Shark. Like I've never seen that episode, but we're all aware it happened.
Yeah. Well, I think that's more ubiquitous.
Yeah. But yeah, I think your definition of retcon, Leon, is like my definition of good retcon, and I think there are bad ones.
All right, that's fair. By the question specific to the question, I don't remember what you're talking about because I literally don't remember a lot of X-Files. That's why I'm watching it all over again. So
I never watched X-Files. Which is why I'm watching it all over again.
So I don't know what specifically what retcon you're talking about. In fact, don't tell me because I'm trying to go into this as if I'm watching it for the first time because I forget a lot of shit. Someone spoiled what happens to some of the characters I like. Even though I may have already known that, I totally forgot. So, and I'm disappointed that I know that. So, to the person who asked that, don't further elaborate.
And I am actually watching it for the first time ever, and I'm only on season 4, episode 2.
Okay. I'm almost on season 2. Johnny is always going to be a little ahead of me on this.
Because you're a busy boy. Busy Benjamin Button boy.
Yep.
I watched the new X-Files, and they totally retcon a bunch of stuff. Like, I barely remember watching that stuff back in the day, but they even, like, draw attention to it. They're like, oh, we thought it was this, but it was this! And it's like, I'm not even attached to the status quo, and I think that's a dumb change you just made there, X-Files.
Oh.
It feels like Chris Carter is fond of trying to trick the audience, but doesn't do the proper work to make the new explanation stand on its own.
There's a big difference between like intrigue and mystery and plot twist, and then like mechanism as storytelling.
You mean like gotchas? Like just
yeah.
This episode needs
like,
a gotcha.
Like one of the biggest problems that the original television that the original run of Heroes had was that after the first season they were like, oh, I guess we need to keep like slipping weird revelations out every 4 episodes. Like, did you know secretly Hero's allergic to bee stings? Did you know that Peter's father was actually really fond of pudding? Did you know that Siler's actually a walking wig? You know, like it.
Wait.
Like,
was Siler walking wig?
no.
Oh, well, now I'm not watching it.
No, but you know, there's you got to earn plot twists and you have to earn mystery. You know, like one of my favorite quotes about mystery writing, or not quotes, but stories about mystery writing, comes from Raymond Chandler, one of my favorite mystery writers, where in writing The Big Sleep, he was also asked to adapt it for the screen. One of the very few instances in which the author actually was commissioned to write the screenplay as well as the novel. And he was printing out the screenplay or getting the screenplay ready. One of the people at the studio approached him and said, "Hey, there's at one point in time there's a chauffeur. This isn't really spoilers. It happens about a third of the way through the movie or the book.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a chauffeur that's killed and found like with a car that he drives in the water off of the Lido Pier." And one of the guys at the studio was like, "Man, I really loved this book when I read it. Can you tell me something? Who killed the chauffeur?" And his response was, "I don't know." And he realized at that point in time that he was using the death of a character as a mechanism to get the plot going. And that's something that you really shouldn't be doing. You can't just throw a murder in.
Because it wasn't planned ahead. It wasn't planned ahead of time. Like, there's actually like writing advice they'll give you if you go to like writing classes, which is why I switched from creative writing to literature when I was in college because of shit like this, where they're like, if you don't know what your characters do next, have a man with a gun walk into the room. Like, that's an actual like thing they'll teach you in writing class, and it's like, yeah, but what is that guy's like? Do I have to think of a backstory for this guy, or like what? And they're like, no, like then something will happen, and then the story will continue from there. And I was like, that's garbage advice. And that's exactly what like the idea here. He's like, oh, like what happens next? Oh, he finds a body. That's exciting. Like, but why?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to do like the legwork, and
you have to
things.
Yeah, you have to earn those moments is the point. You can't just take something that you know an audience has been following for however long. And this especially applies to television shows because you know, whereas a movie you're looking at maybe tops 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
A television show where like we're talking, you know, 45 minutes to a TV show, 24 episodes a season, you're talking 18 hours with commercial, like, you know, without commercial breaks, easy. And if you've got eight seasons of this show that runs 18 hours a season, and then in fucking season 7, you're just like, oh, it was the panda all along. You just, like, you're asking for it. Unless you've actually planned ahead for that shit.
That's why I bounced off of Lost. Like, I wanted to get into that show, but it was so clear they were making it up. Like, I could see the puppet strings of everything they were doing in the writing room, and it just was a total turn off.
It was the reason why I didn't get involved in Prison Break in the first place, because I was like, okay, that's going to be a good show, probably be able to stretch it for one good season, a second passable one. After that, it's just going to be crap, and I'm not interested, because they're not going to take one season and be like, yeah, we broke out of the prison, done.
It sounds more like a mini-series than a show.
Exactly. It deserves that more. You know, like some ideas, like just they need to have a conclusion. There has to be an end.
Yep. Agreed. Another question, or do you guys have topics?
I can do one more question.
Let's see here. Andreas asks, did you guys watch the Wachowski siblings Sense8 and like it?
I watched the first episode.
We can now say, gentlemen, we can now say the Wachowski sisters.
That's true. I watched one episode and was like, eh. So I hear it gets better. But again, I'm in that state in my life where it has to be good right away, or I just don't have time.
Yeah, actually, the question does say sisters. I think my brain tried to edit that, but yes.
Okay.
I same as you. I watched one episode and I was like, yeah, that was fine, but it didn't really grab me. I didn't feel any like momentum to push me to the second episode.
Okay.
I think I need to explain something to you guys and very possibly the audience here about the way that I pay attention to my media.
Okay.
I pick a project and I stick with it. You know, at most I have like maybe 2 projects on the go at any given time, but I try and keep it down to 1. This works for just about anything that I'm doing that's long term. Like if I'm reading a book, it's 1 book. If I'm reading 2 books, one of them is fiction, one of them is nonfiction. If I'm watching a television show, I'm watching 1 fucking television show. That's it. If I'm playing a video game, it's usually like I'm playing 1 video game. Unless
I used to be that way until we
long
started,
and a bit of a grind.
until we started doing podcasts, and then I was like, I had to bring 7 things to talk about every week just in case.
I know it's like it's really difficult. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, you know what? I got nothing going on this week. I'm gonna play Stardew Valley for 6 hours.
Speaking of Stardew Valley, did you see the sales figures on that?
I don't know.
No,
It is absolutely crushing the Steam sales chart. Like the Harvest Moon series has sold like decent to like not quite great over the years. Like going back to like I think the SNES, it sells like in the 5 digits, or maybe I think there was a DS game that broke 6. Stardew Valley has I think like 450,000 units moved or something, like nearly 500,000. It's like
Nice.
slaying it.
Good
And
for
like
you, man.
that's cool, but also like I feel bad for the Harvest Moon people. Like it took in 20 years, they couldn't like combined barely match that.
Isn't the original Harvest Moon designer working on a PC game though?
I think the Harvest Moon guy is working on, isn't that Story of Seasons his series now? There's a whole clusterfuck with the rights.
Seeds of Memories.
Okay, so there's Seeds of Memories, Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons, and now Stardew Valley. They're like 4 series that are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But Stardew came out of nowhere and just took the crown. Wow. I wonder if is it just because it's the only PC game that's exactly like that, and it was just this market doesn't have any competitors.
I'll have you guys know that as all 3 of us has experienced, that Farming Simulator is a thing.
It's such a different game, though.
Yeah,
it's
it really
so
is.
It's so different.
Isn't Farmville though a PC game?
It's not even close.
Okay, I don't know, so I'm just throwing out farm words. At this.
It's just farm words. Bale, pitchfork, just farm words.
All right.
Croft.
Tomb Raider. Do you guys want another question?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to only do this for a little over an hour. Instead of the hour and 54-minute thing we did last week, that epic.
That was your fault.
I know. I just didn't stop. I want this to be normal. So unless anyone has any pressing things to talk about, yes, we can do one more question.
I'm afraid I'm kind of tapped dry of topics this week.
No, that's totally okay. I mean, I don't really either. I had a thing to say about fucking a containment unit, and that was my big opener.
Okay.
Awesome. Right ahead.
I'm looking through the questions and like, okay, so we all know there's like the trolling and joke questions, but there's also this other genre of questions where it's like they ask something that like I know what the reference is, but it's going to sound like gibberish when I say it. Okay, Martin asks, what is your opinion on mecha sexuality when it comes to sentient military vehicles? See, that sounds like gibberish. Do you want me to decode that for you?
No. I want you to throw that away.
It's called Panzermädels. It's a German like word, I guess, or made up word. But the subtitle is it's Panzermädels Tank Dating Simulator. You can look it up on Steam. It's a dating simulator where you date anime tank girls. Kind of, I think it's like a Hatful Boyfriend, where they're both tanks and anime people simultaneously.
Can you date a Königstiger?
You just made noises into your microphone that sounded German. I don't believe that they're real.
These girls are not tanks at all.
I think I said, I just sent them the link to Panzermädels on Steam. Like, all the screenshots are of anime girls, but I think it's like Hatful Boyfriend, where it shows them, like, if you ever play that game, they're birds, but it shows them as anime boys a lot of the time. Yeah, like, watch the trailer in the Steam thing, right? It shows a tank, and there's, like, a see-through portrait of, like, a blonde anime girl. Yeah, and she's, like, the tiger, it says here, Liger J, which is, I guess, the model of the tank, but she's anthropomorphized as this blonde girl.
Okay, I'm watching the.
Yeah, and like here are the screenshots. There's like a pink hair girl, and her speech bubble is labeled T34. Yeah, they're all. Yeah, here we go. Here's a brunette, and her name's M4 Sherman. So they're tanks and anime girls simultaneously.
Yeah, but they're not like. I want to romance a tank, not a tank that looks like a girl.
I assume that there are scenes of both. Johnny, why are you fighting me on this?
So your tank has to be gender neutral? It's just, or it shouldn't look like a woman? I don't understand.
I mean, it should look like a tank.
Okay.
Johnny's being discriminatory against tank girls.
All right.
Which is also a thing.
I have no problem with Tank Girl, okay?
The comic or the movie?
The comic.
I've never read or seen Tank Girl. I've
never read the comic. I've seen the movie. Weren't there kangaroos?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I have to say.
Cool.
All right. Anything you guys want to say before we go?
Are you guys aware of the musical Hamilton?
Yeah. Course.
Only by reputation.
I mean, I haven't been because I don't go to musicals, but yes, because I have Tumblr, I know what Hamilton is.
It's a Tumblr thing. So I've been aware of it existing for a long time, and it has like a really big reputation of being good. But the guy who wrote it, Lin-Manuel Miranda, is good friends with the McElroy brothers, who do podcasts I enjoy, and they had him on as a guest on some of their old episodes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that convinced me to listen to it, and it's super fucking good.
The musical?
The musical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only listened to the soundtrack because it's like only obviously can you watch it on Broadway. Right. But like I just listened to the soundtrack over and over and over, and then I forgot to sleep, and then I just kept listening to it over and over and over. It is incredible. Yep. I cannot it's like you think, okay, 2016, Austin's favorite thing of the year is going to be Fire Emblem, but it's not. It's definitely Hamilton so far. Persona 5 isn't out yet, but right now, Hamilton, my favorite thing. It didn't come out this year, obviously, but
apparently, in order to go to see Hamilton, you have to win a lottery to get tickets because they're that rare. And
it's more popular. It's more popular than Jesus right now.
Yeah. I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean, there literally is one.
Yeah, I think it deserves it. It's literally the best musical I've ever heard.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we want to go?
Don't pick at it.
Or do. Johnny's not your boss.
No, you probably shouldn't. I mean, what good ever comes of that?
Nothing except a very fleeting kind of compulsive satisfaction.
Scott Gross in my head is, you know what? No. Never mind. Never mind. I wasn't going to say anything. I'm going to go and go do things.
We're gonna miss you, Leon.
Great. We're still doing our like the 3-man Dice Funk tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have to do a new podcast now.
Oh yeah, your Patreon hit a thing.
So, let's leave this in this.
Congratulations, by the way, on earning monies.
I mean, thank everybody who has been helping me on Patreon. It's been a pretty enormous success by my standards.
You're welcome.
Let's leave this in the show because I need help. What do you guys want to listen to? I mean, obviously both Leon and Johnny are invited, but I don't know like what is the show going to be? What do people want? I read the comments on Channel Awesome and YouTube. So if you're hearing this, what kind of show do you want? Do you want another BT podcast style, like we're ostensibly there to talk about video games, but we're mostly going to talk about like butts, or do you like want actual video game talk, or just something else entirely?
Austin, I just want you to know, when you're casting your new podcast, count me out.
Like I said, I had no illusions that you guys were going to be automatically on board. I monopolize a lot of your time already.
No, I mean I literally can't post another podcast on Channel Awesome.
I know.
I'm like not allowed to do it. So there's nothing I can do to help you with your new endeavor. Although I will listen to it, and I'm sure it will be good.
Oh, okay, then it has to be 100% video games.
There's no way I am now. You should call it Not Video Games Podcast and just be into listening to it.
That would be really funny for one episode.
I know. No, it'll be really funny for about 10 minutes, and then I'll just stop listening to the rest.